Hello once again, people of YouTube. Marcantus here. And today I just saw Godzilla in 3D and IMAX. You know, the movie, I actually enjoyed it very much. And I'm not just saying that because I'm just some blind, Godzilla fan who's just going to say the movie is great because it is a Godzilla movie. It was really good. And I do know that there are some people who kind of have some disagreements or disappointments about it. And I think that's an unavoidable effect. The movie was just surrounded with so much hype. We were expecting it to be this grand monster bash, almost like Pacific Rim. I guess that's what a lot of people were expecting. And it wasn't. And it shouldn't have had to have been. It's a Godzilla movie. It's not Pacific Rim. Now, even I had some grievances with the movie, but it didn't ruin it for me. I did acknowledge that Godzilla did not appear in the movie as much as I anticipated he would. And some of the characters, they either did not stay in the movie as long as I thought they would, or some of them were not as interesting as I anticipated. Bryan Cranston's character, he was really good in the movie. The problem was that he wasn't in there as long as we would have hoped. I think he would have brought a completely new dimension to the movie. And Ken Watanabe's character, Dr. Serizawa, he was good, but I started to notice that he never really showed a lot of emotion in the movie. But because Godzilla was not there, I still think the movie was good. And the reason behind that is because the pacing of the movie was good. It did not stay on any one character for so long that it became really boring to see him. It gave him something to do. It was something usually new, and it was interesting. And it stuck with it just long enough for us to get a bit more of the story, and it moved it along. It went on to the next scene. Now, in that, it was good. It's true Godzilla does not appear very soon in the movie. And this is spoilers. I'm trying not to spoil too much, though, for those of you who have not yet seen the movie, because this is only like the second day that it's actually been out. But I still really enjoyed the film, legitimately. I think one of the things that helped me enjoy it was the fact that, one, the pacing was good. Two, the characters were interesting enough to hold you in until Godzilla actually did appear. And another one of the problems with the film, and I know I sound like I'm downing on it, I'm just saying that this is something that I would prefer that the movie did not do, is the first time Godzilla actually encounters the first Muto, which is a male. This is a bit of a spoiler, because there's a male and a female Muto. They're the same species, but they're just different sexes, so they're going in that movie. But when Godzilla encounters the flying Muto, the winged Muto as it is also called, you expect him to fight it, or to see the fight. And it cuts away to a news casting that shows that Godzilla was fighting the Muto, but then it just flew away. It fled, and Godzilla started to pursue it. Now, this movie did several things with the Mutos. One, it made them interesting and very dangerous characters. You can tell that these things were a threat to humanity, because they can, and yes, this is a spoiler, I know I'm saying this several times, but just so you don't complain, they create an electromagnetic pulse. Of course, that was probably obvious from the trailer. I don't even know why I'm saying this is a spoiler when you probably already guessed that. Yes, they do create an EMP, and it disrupts everything that is electronic in the entire area. And of course, this makes it a very grave threat. And the Mutos are a great threat, because if they actually are allowed to breed, there's going to be so many of them that not even Godzilla can stop them. And they're just going to spread throughout the entire world. No one's going to be safe. I don't think they're going to just attack people, but at the same time, they cause enough damage that we're probably going to just, like Bryan Cranston's character says, it's going to send us back into the Stone Age. And let's face it, the Stone Age and humanity, we don't get along very well. I mean, we don't get along now, but that would just, raise the stakes even worse. And Godzilla is portrayed as being this creature which is like nature's natural predator to counteract these muto creatures. He's going to stop them. Now, the movie makes Godzilla initially sound like just an animal going about its natural instincts, but at the same time it also shows that he's a bit sentient about this. He knows the mutos are a threat. Maybe he doesn't care that they are a threat to humanity, but he knows that they're going to be a threat to the world in some way, and he has to stop them. It's like an instinct, but also a moral choice. And what I liked that they did about Godzilla was that they kind of gave him a bit of a human character, a soul, you could say. And he's not a creature that was created in 1954. He's a creature which is prehistoric. He is a prehistoric creature, and he feeds off radiation. He fed off radiation from millions of years ago, and when that radiation was depleted, he went down into the depths of the ocean to feed off from the radiation that was coming from the Earth's center. Now, he's pretty much displayed as kind of being old at one point, because when he freaking fights the Muto, when he kills one of them, he actually starts, kind of panting and leaning over like, oh God, 10 years and I'm 10 years of 10 years of not doing this and I'm out of shape. Jeez. And it actually is kind of an emotional point where I kind of feel, a bit of, a little sorry for him. And, some emotions just start rising up from me. And there's even a moment where he kind of looks at not Bryan Cranston, I mean Aaron Taylor Johnson, because he's the soldier in the movie. He's playing the soldier, and he's like a explosive expert. He disarms bombs or rearms bombs or whatever. So he's sent in to disarm this bomb, which is taken by the Mutos because they're trying to take anything that is nuclear because it's their energy source. And he needs to disarm this bomb, and all the while there's these monsters fighting. And he actually kind of sees Godzilla just after he's fallen over at one point, and he's just looking at him, and he's like, "This ain't easy. This is not easy." And he kind of feels, he's like, "You're really fighting out there, aren't you? As hard as we are, as hard as humanity is." So I'm not saying that it brought me to tears, but it did make me feel something strong. The movie does kind of immerse you in this, and that's why I was glad that I saw this in 3D and IMAX, because this is a Godzilla movie. I mean, the roar, the ambiance, the atmosphere, and the story, I think you get it a lot more when it's in 3D and IMAX. The sound of Godzilla's roar reverberating through that theater, I felt like it was shaking. I felt like it was really roaring in front of me. I'm not going to say that there was anything very spectacular in the 3D effects that, it's not like James Cameron's Avatar or anything. It's not like you're going to look at this and say, now this is a revolutionary thing in 3D and IMAX 3D. And it's not. The IMAX and the 3D kind of both work together. And honestly, a movie, especially not a Godzilla movie, should have to do something really fancy to get the freaking 3D and IMAX to work. It worked just fine. And it's not just my opinion. I went to see this with my mom. Now, she's not so much a Godzilla fan, she's a Godzilla enthusiast. And she liked it. And my aunt, who's not a Godzilla fan at all, but she still enjoyed the movie. And she can tell a good movie from a crappy movie. She's kind of judgmental, sort of. So, yes, we enjoyed the movie. And despite the flaws that a lot of people are going to point out, this movie was still good. Gareth Edwards, what he did well, he did really well in my opinion. He didn't do everything perfect, and I think that the way that he could have circumvented that was by having it so the movie was not simply 2 hours and 3 minutes long, but in 2 hours and 30 minutes long. It could have had a chance to maybe build a little bit more story, go more deeper into the backstory of some of these creatures, maybe even add like a third creature which could really turn things up, and we just see Godzilla fighting that. It could be like an intro, but like, it was good for what it was, and I am not sugarcoating it. Not at all. Not at all. Now, two things that I would like to see in a Godzilla sequel. Not that, and before I talk about a Godzilla sequel, I like to talk about the ending to the movie. It doesn't set itself up for a sequel. It doesn't have us like looking at something and it leaves us on a cliffhanger. It doesn't show like, oh, one of the monsters is twitching and it might still be alive, or another monster is suddenly hatching and it's awakening, or even that any of the Muto's infants survived the attack, and they might appear later on. No, that's not what happens. Those Mutos are dead. They're not coming back. It just has Godzilla going out into the sea, and that's how the movie ends. Major spoilers, though. It doesn't set itself up for a movie, but that's where it kind of immerses you again. You don't know what's going to happen. This is a world where no one could see this coming. And the unpredictability of this movie and what might happen in the future is what kind of draws you in. Will another Muto appear? Will Godzilla attack humanity? Will mankind do something to irritate him or provoke him? Who knows? I mean, some people think he's a bit of a hero because, he was fighting off the Mutos and he kind of made the entire mission possible, a success really even. So, who knows? There might be some people who think he's a guardian monster or, like just a force of good. And some people who fear him because he is a monster that no one can really comprehend or control. I mean, they don't know what he's going to do next, right? He could continue saving the world. He might challenge humanity. Either way, whatever. And that's where I would like to see a sequel. You see a little bit of Godzilla being a force of nature, because when he appears, he causes mayhem. And I'm not going to really describe why, but you've already guessed at it. But I would have loved to see a little bit more of that destructive force of nature in him. And just to close this off, because I'm kind of running on an extended time period here, I love the monster fights. I love the pacing of the film. I love the characters for what they were worth. I love Godzilla's atomic breath. His atomic breath looked pretty good. Now, my only nitpick is that it looked a little bit small and maybe a little bit underpowered. I think it would have been a little bit better if, when he used it, he really physically damaged the Muto. Like, you could tell that thing seriously hurt him, and he killed one of them with it. I'm not going to describe why, but he did, and you probably already guessed at that. But he kind of uses it at another point, and I felt like he could have done a little bit more damage and maybe just displayed a little bit more of his power. But that can be summed up in him either being old or just waking up, and he's weak and he's not at his full strength yet. So, yeah. And another thing, they show his vulnerability once again. I think I mentioned this before, which makes him all the more realistic and, admirable, relatable, really. So, I like the film, and if you guys are going to really hate on it because it was not as great as you would, you have to understand it was hyped at. This was like Prometheus. A lot of people liked it, but some people were disappointed because it didn't exactly go the way they were expecting it to go. It felt like, to some people, like an Aliens prequel. Like a retelling of the Aliens franchise. But I enjoyed it for what it was worth, and you should enjoy it for what it's worth. Maybe it wasn't as perfect as we thought it was going to be, but come on. We should not expect this huge thing from a movie. Gareth Edwards, he did great with what he could. And frankly, he could have done it a lot worse. He could have. So, please enjoy the film. I hope you watch it. I hope you support it. I'm not saying you have to go see it in 3D and IMAX, but if you want the full experience, that is what I would recommend. Hope you guys enjoyed this small little amateur review, and please do like the video if you will. You don't need to subscribe to me because I don't know how many more of these I might do, reviews wise anyway. I'm really much I just did this because I'm a fan of Godzilla, and I just felt like I should do this. Though I would say that you can like submit a review to the Godzilla movie website. There's a spot where you can review the movie and rate it. Well, that's it for today and for a while. See you guys next time.